I'm Alex Pelissero. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of Anthropology and Geography, working with Dr. Michael Ponte. We consider ourselves paleoanthropologists, so broadly we study human evolution, human fossils. We sort of focus on different aspects of like the human-carnivore relationship and the emergence of like humans using tools and eating meat and stuff, and how that impacted our evolution and our behavior. I took a intro to biological anthropology class with Dennis Van Gerven at CU Boulder, and just like, oh wow, I want to do human evolution. And then it kind of went from there. And then in our department, it's anthropology and geography, so there's like a geospatial focused or like vibe to everything we kind of do. And so we work primarily at the site of Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania, East Africa. As the name suggests, it's a big old gorge, a big canyon, which is like 2 million years worth of geologic deposits covering a good chunk of human evolution, including earliest members of our genus, early stone tools, early human carnivory. There's lots of data, and it's spread out through a long period of time across a wide range. So I'm doing a lot of mapping of the different sites that have been found and looking at the relationships between them and how where our ancestors were on the landscape, like sort of where those hot spots were and how that may have changed through time. So my project's pretty big. There's like 3 main questions, all involving some sort of like geospatial aspect and mapping. The first one is like, given this giant gorge, we're looking for particular deposits from a different time period, so like things are eroding out. And it's not evenly distributed, so like there's this big space, and conceivably our ancestors, were walking all around it when it, wasn't a gorge. So one of the things I'm trying to get at, and I'm using drones to map the entire gorge, and then I'm mapping out the stratigraphy. I'm like tracing out the exposures and figuring out where different geologic layers are to determine how much that relationship between like where we can excavate or like where we have excavated influences like what we say about where we find evidence of our ancestors hanging out. Like, is this relationship just because of us, or is there an actual like ecological behavioral thing, like Homo habilis like to hang out in this area for these reasons? And other than that, really interested in how like ecological changes that happened, because this is a time period where a lot of environmental changes are happening. And so this is like a really important time period for our evolution. It's like how our ancestors responded to these changes, but also, as I mentioned, this is like early on when our ancestors, these early humans, are maybe hunting and scavenging, and like they're having a new relationship with carnivores on the landscape, lions, hyenas. And how did that influence where they hung out? Like, are they avoiding predators? Do they not care? Are they like going into these highly dangerous areas because they know like there's like animal carcasses there they can steal or whatever, and like are they trying to avoid predators, or do they not care, and like how does that change through time? We just use like standard commercial sized drones with a nice camera on them, and the basic idea is you already know your survey area, you just plot it out in the program, and then what it does is it takes a series of overlapping photographs, and you take those overlapping photographs and you can reconstruct. If they're overlapping enough, like 80% or whatever, front and back, side to side, you make enough of those and you can reconstruct the topography of an area in 3 dimensions. So in addition to actually just flying the drone and like taking all those pictures, making like a mosaic of those pictures to like reconstruct like a map of the entire area in very high resolution, you have to take what are known as ground control points. And so most of the work we did was not just flying the drone, it was walking through all of these areas, and we have to take use this big fancy GPS thing, mobile GNSS unit that takes like centimeter, millimeter scale resolution GPS coordinates. So yeah, you take those points, you correct the model, and then you can make like a nice like 3D model, kind of like a 3D scan. But it's really cool, so it gave us an opportunity to see a whole bunch of the gorge that most people don't go to. It's been pretty amazing getting to work alongside other Tanzanian researchers. Most of our team, it's an international team usually, but it's always a collaborative relationship with Tanzanian researchers. All the staff and excavators, everyone is Tanzanian. They come either from nearby communities. We have to work very closely with the Maasai who live in our research areas in the Ngorongoro conservation area. People have worked at these sites for years and years, and they just have such an immense amount of knowledge that they've gotten, and just, yeah, it's really incredible being out there. It's hard for me to imagine working anywhere else. I mean, one of the biggest pieces of advices I could give going from like the undergrad to the graduate level would be develop those relationships with your professors and even other people within what department your major is in, because those are the people that are going to give you connections. Those people are going to write letters of rec for you, be able to sort of guide you. Like, I'm thinking of this, and like, oh, you can talk to these people, because it can be really overwhelming. Other than that, like, develop your own interests and find someone who shares those interests and will support you, even if it doesn't quite directly overlap. Like, having a good supportive network, good supportive advisor is immense when you're starting off in grad school and like taking to that next step, and like always being explicit, like, oh, I want to do this. It's like, what resources are available to me? I want to keep working in Africa my whole life. I mean, that's why I got into the field, was to be like in the field, whatever that looks like. The connections and the collaborations I've built there are very important to me. I want to maintain those. I don't want to just parachute in, parachute out when my research is done. And so I want to keep building those connections, building those collaborations with people in Tanzania or Kenya or Ethiopia, wherever else I happen to work. The biggest help, of course, has been my advisor, Dr. Ponte, who has been super supportive. He facilitated getting me to the site and meeting all of these new collaborators last year, and has continued to help me along. My department, at least, has been, to me, very supportive in my research. Everyone that's involved in like biological anthropology, paleoanthropology in our department has been great. So I wouldn't be here without them, of course.